Hi there. I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan and your host for Tips for the Transition. And this is part 3 and my wrap-up chat with Donna Sparaco, the self-proclaimed incurable optimist. And I know you're going to be able to tell that if you've watched any of the video up till now, you'll know that that's for sure the truth. And she's also a co-author of the new book, From Resilience to Brilliance. This is part of my continuing series of interviews with women who have inspiring stories to tell and who are role models for the rest of us when it comes to learning to thrive. That's why I called this show Tips for the Transition. Hello, Donna.
Hi, Maria. Thanks for having me again. It's awesome to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Your perspective on finding joy, no matter what situation you might find yourself in, is hugely inspiring to me. And I'm sure it will be to lots of other women. I appreciate how open you have been to share your story so we can understand your journey. Now I like to say that we've saved the best for last. I don't call this show Tips for the Transition for nothing. So we want to hear your tips. Can you share with us what will help in our journeys to find joy?
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. I'd say that the first tip, and I touched upon it in the last segment, is allowing people to love you the way they know how. This is paramount. I remember as a little girl when I reached out to comfort somebody who had just lost a loved one and they rejected me. And I just thought of it, recently as, wow, if they had known how to accept my love the way I knew how to give it, it would have been a different response. So that being said, I didn't have any foresight about this. I didn't have any insight. I just started to allow people to love me and reach out and do whatever they felt was natural for them through this period of time that I was going through this heavy grieving. And that was healing for me because I love people. People are not out to hurt you. They're just out to love on you. Let them love on you. And so without expectation and without, curtailment and without rules, I just allowed that to happen. And it was a beautiful thing. But in the middle of all that, I started to unwrap these amazing gifts. And if, as women specifically, we have this sixth sense, we have this woman's intuition, and I would implore you to pay attention to when the hair goes up on your arm or the hair on the back of your neck, or you get an impulse of a thought. Pay attention to that. And here's why I'm saying that. There's a couple things. First of all, when we were having the service for my husband and his son and family were there. Now, remember, this is not my children. I don't have children. So I used to say that I was a grandmother by default. And I was on the back burner. I was in the back scene, right? This was Peter's family. And one of the first things that became apparent to me was the relationship with these grandchildren. It was amazing to me because now that my husband was out of the middle of the equation, they were now reaching out to Donna, sometimes known as Donna, sometimes stepmom Donna. It was no longer dad's wife. It was no longer grandpa's wife. And this was a huge shift that I never saw coming and never thought I'd be a part of. And I'm learning how to be in that role because I never was a grandmother before, okay? So that was huge. That was something I would have never experienced without my husband. This house, this home, I wake up every morning and I listen, we're always talking about gratitude, but I don't want it to get to be like, wah, wah, wah. Let's feel what that feels like. And as I was in my moment of solace and I was relaxing and feeling the love of the energy around me, I realized that my husband and I got this house together. My husband always knew he was going to be the first one to go. He never let me put his name on anything. Not the cars, not the house. It was a simple transition from the time that I met him, okay? So, and then I look at this little doggie that I have, who, by the way, assisted me with getting out of bed many mornings. She has to be walked. She's got to, otherwise we're going to have troubles, right? So when I wanted to lay in bed and put the covers over my head, I thanked my husband once again for this little gift, because we had never spoken about having a pet. In all the years I knew him, he was off the boat from Italy. Pets were not like a big thing. He didn't grow up with that. They were workers, actually. And so one day he turns to me out of the blue and says, baby, if we get a dog, I want it to be trained. And I was like, are we getting a dog? Well, listen, I told him, you put it out there in the universe now, so we're going to have the dog. And this little thing showed up in our lap a week later. It was in a puppy mill. And of course, he didn't want a little dog. He wanted a big one. But this is what showed up. We accepted the love the way it knew how to come to us. And she was a saving grace for me. So talk about gifts. This is not a story of despair. This is not a story of going down. This is a story of being open to the abundance of health, wealth, and happiness and love that comes your way. We get to take out our air guitars. And guess what? We get to put on our clown noses, and we get to do the thing that feels right. Because if it feels right, it is right. I can't be more adamant about that little message. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense, Donna. Perfect sense. If it feels right, it is right. I love that. That's a great affirmation that I think we can all repeat and feel good about. And I think the trick is allowing, you've said this a couple of times, allowing yourself to be open to the possibility that there is another option out there to grief. Not that we won't feel the emotion of it, absolutely we will, but making a conscious, I love the word you use, deliberate choice to seek something better and to climb that ladder that you have created through those emotions, and it culminates in joy. I love that.
Thank you, Maria. It's real. And I'll tell you, if I have a few minutes to tell you one more thing.
Sure.
So now I've gone through, my months of grieving. I'm walking my path. And guess what? I'm a woman. And my husband didn't want to have to deal with grieving. So he always knew he was going first. I mean, he told me that from the minute I met him. And now 8 months in, my body wakes up. I start to feel sexual feelings. And this is a component that, again, I did not see coming. And I'm like, now what? Now what? But again, if it feels right, it is right. So it took me 8 months before I felt anything. It took me 4 more months before I did anything. And I'm just sharing that timeline for people because it doesn't matter what your timeline is. I know people who have gone years and years and years and never reconnected with a mate. And I've met people who it's happened sooner. I just followed my path. And when it was right, I moved forward. And my message, along with following joy, includes embracing your newfound sensuality and sexuality. This is really important. We're not done with life. We are not done with life. And my husband is my biggest fan. And that's my reality. And I'm okay with that. I feel like he's got my back even now. And I've been enjoying this journey as well, which is why I opted to write Morning Sex.
That is amazing. That's a great story. I would love to go deeper into that. We don't have time. That's perhaps another interview, and it's absolutely a great reason for our viewers to get the book From Resilience to Brilliance on Amazon and to read Donna's story, Morning Sex. Thank you so much, Donna. Please share with our viewers the best way they can reach you. What's the one best way?
The best way to reach me is either call or text at my cell phone, 516-395-8219, or you can go to donnasparaco.com.
Okay, thank you so much. You have been a pure delight. I really appreciate that you have lightened my spirit and touched my heart.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I would love to leave our listeners with just this parting thought. It is my deep desire that these conversations will inspire you and help you know that you are not alone. Many of us have gone through similar experiences to what you're going through, and we're here to help. So it is my belief that it's our time to thrive, and I would love for you to join me in that.
Perfect.
I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan. Till next time.